as a free state in 20th century Africa is the need to revive the stature of man in Africa and restore the dignity of man in the world. Nigerians believe passionately in the fundamental human rights. We regard all races of the human family as equal. Under no circumstance shall we accept the idea that the black race is inferior to any other race. I appeal to all our leaders, far and near, to forget the wounds which were inflicted in cause of our internecine altercations. The love of our country should outweigh the love of our petty selves. The enjoyment of individual freedom under the law should mean more to us than our self-centered party programs and manifestos. Common dangers and common enemies alert us on the need for common security. Come and join Abubakar with me, Sadauna, Awolowo, Akitola, Ofarebe, Okpara, Ikoku, Aminu Kano, Ibrahim Imam, and Taka. Let us bind the nation's wound and let us heal the breaches of the past so that in forging our nation, there shall emerge on this continent a hate-free, fear-free, and greed-free people who shall be in the vanguard of a world task force whose assignment is not only to revive the stature of man in Africa, but to restore the dignity of man in the world.
Welcome back from that. Thank you so much to Dr. James Komolafe, and we've been having that very important well-being tips where you tell us that what's happening inward is very important and should not be taken for granted. Well, it's time to discuss the protest. I mean, having read the newspapers this morning, it was what characterized most of the papers this morning. It seems like everywhere you go, it was talks of protest. Well, it's time to discuss the protest and how we can ensure peaceful protest, because the demands are legitimate. Nigerians are hungry. They want the government to pay attention to what's going on in the markets. They're unable to purchase goods as easily as they used to. The poverty line, maybe there's no line these days. So to discuss all of that, in the studio is Comrade and engineer, but Comrade first at this point, Igbini Emmanuel Odafe. Thank you so much for being part of the program. He's a comrade, he's a former Unionist, and a political and social commentator. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Protest again, protest, and we just, we are just beginning to recover from the end-SARS protest, but the demands of Nigerians right now, do you find it legitimate? They are hungry.
Of course, very legitimate. Even Mr. President has not pretended about it. He's consistently acknowledged the fact that indeed he feels our pains, and that he's committed to making sure that he actualizes his renewed hope agenda for Nigerians. But it's just that the more he tries, it appears that the more the renewed hope agenda is fading away from Nigerians. I mean, it is sad. Let me put it in context so that we get very clear. This challenge we face today didn't start now, but it's been there for years, even before we transited to the democracy that we are now struggling to make sure that it works. It's just that what I notice, and sadly so, is that every other Nigerian who is privileged to lead us, either as head of state or elected president, they seem not to understand the fundamentals. Or maybe when they get into power,
I wanted to say that,
then they get distracted, because here we are with a man we so respect, an activist, a comrade, a fighter. I'm talking about the current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. You recall that he was one of the arrowheads in the fight against military regime, and then they had that Nadeko and it's no longer in doubt that he played not only an active physical role,
but led it.
Yes, and then we saw all of that even up to 20 before
President Buhari.
Goodluck Jonathan's time. We saw all of that, and one would expect that things will not get to this point where the same young Nigerians that he actually motivated to move against any government that appears to be disconnected from the people is now the one that the same young Nigerians are now moving against. I don't want to believe that he's opposed to this protest. Just like every person, he's disturbed that maybe the protest will go beyond what is expected.
Exactly.
Even when he also organized his own protest and joined in previous protests, we also saw some skirmishes here and there. And it's the concern of every Nigerian, my concern too. I'm also an activist. I'm the national president of Vanguard for Transparent Leadership and Democracy, and we've been there for 20-something years. So I have decided to stay back in Abuja up to Thursday and beyond. And those who are believed to be, championing this protest, I'm in touch with them, and I respect them. And my own is that, can we have a sincere dialogue? It's one thing to go on the street, organize protests, shut down the system, but the next question is, what is the way forward? When it happened in Kenya, I had interview with Kenyan-based journalists, and they were asking me, the situation in Kenya now is so bad that with the protests all over the place, President Ruto is now asking to engage with the leaders of the protesters. And the leaders of the protesters, even among the protesters, they were this kind of mutual suspicion. They didn't trust themselves. I said then, they just have to learn to trust somebody that will speak on their behalf.
Exactly.
Now the question is, once you go on this protest, and then the questioner is, okay, please let's sit down. What do you think is the problem, and how do we solve it? And then that becomes a challenge. This is where the intellectual engagement comes in. And I must say that, unfortunately, I'm in touch with some very close aides of Mr. President. We chat every now and then in our WhatsApp group and everything. And I can tell you that what I see is that the normal thing. They are just not interested in even Mr. President succeeding. Okay. So you see most of them, I don't know why our thinking is like this.
But everything begins and ends in leadership. We thought this was going to be different. You're right, one man cannot do everything, but that one man can set such a pace that his cabinet would have to deliver or move out. If he gives, that's the impression we got when he nominated, when he inaugurated them, and he told them there. But we're not seeing that happen. There are dormant ministries, I don't want to mention names, but Nigerians are seeing. The agriculture is one that I thought would be vibrant at this point, especially after the removal of fuel subsidy. Promises were made, promises that Nigerians have been waiting, doesn't seem to have come.
Let me tell you, I've heard all of that. Let's fix the agricultural sector, let's fix mining, let's fix
transportation.
I will continue to insist that Mr. President cannot fix the challenge we face in this country, except he focuses on the petroleum sector. Every time I insist on that, it is the petroleum sector.
Still the mainstay of Nigeria's economy.
He has to get that patriotic courage. It is the reason I campaigned for him and I voted for him, and I don't have any regret. That patriotic courage he displayed in Lagos. I'm not a member of APC or PDP or Labour Party, no. But you see, up till now, he has not displayed that patriotic courage in the direction of the petroleum sector.
In spite of removing fuel subsidy.
Fuel subsidy never existed. It was a scam.
It never existed.
Never any day.
Nigerians weren't. Okay, so this is an interesting one.
No, it's been a scam all these years. Who did they pay subsidy to, and how, and why? no subsidy. It was actually the former President Buhari who, towards the end of his tenure, put an end to subsidy. The only thing is that he was not courageous to implement it while he was there. He didn't lie about it. He said, look, I don't want to face any crisis, so protest. I know that if I stop it and implement the end of fuel subsidy,
it's going to
Nigerians will stop the so
backlash.
He just decided to pay a subsidy, whatever they call their subsidy, settle those that they normally collect this our money up to June 2023, so that whoever becomes the president carries the wahala. So President Tinubu now inherited the wahala they created. And the day he made that pronouncement at the Eagle Square, I heard him. I
thought that was the patriotic courage that
yes, he displayed it. Then the shocker came when immediately the management of the so-called, I say with all due responsibility, because that NNPCL is the worst thing that has happened to this country. The establishment of NNPCL, not NNPC.
Right.
That NNPC with a limited added to it is the worst thing that has happened to this country. And when the members of the National Assembly were celebrating the PIA in 2021, I kept on raising the alarm.
When did you raise this alarm? Because I remember during that period there were town hall meetings, there were public hearings just to hear divergent voices.
They don't hear divergent voices. They don't. You don't know how the system runs?
I would like to know.
In that National Assembly, with due respect, not just the current tent, it's been the trend. There are certain cabal, even in the civil society organization, in case you don't know. Majorly in this Abuja, there's a cabal. So those are the ones who often have free access to the National Assembly, and they are the ones who will pick who and who to come and speak in all those town hall meetings. That is the truth.
Okay, I want to understand to what end would they support the PIA? The PIA was supposed to bring structure and transparency to the oil and gas sector.
That was the intention.
Right.
If you look at the preamble, if you read it. Because indeed, the petroleum sector, where I come from, I work for one of the international oil companies that are in joint venture with Nigerians through the NNPC. And I know the extent of massive fraud, corruption, and crude oil theft that have been perpetrated by some of my senior colleagues at the management level for years.
Okay.
And I kept on, as a labor leader, mobilizing my colleagues in the system to expose them. You know, I did that consistently. I spoke to the media when it got to a point I had to raise the alarm. Of course, that cost my judgment 4 years ago. But that is it. But see where we are. Back to the PIA. If you want me to break it down, you will weep. What that PIA, Petroleum Industry Act 2021, it was well intended, but it was hijacked by different interests. They wrote in the Nigerian petroleum sector, which is the heartbeat of this
nation,
your economy cannot progress when your petroleum sector, particularly the upstream, because we have upstream and downstream, now they've added what they call midstream,
right?
Okay, once that sector is not fixed for an oil producing and exporting country like Nigeria, every other thing will collapse. Your naira will just be a piece of paper as it is today now. So that is the truth. All efforts to focus on economic reforms or reforms of the CBN will just be a waste. All effort to fix our national security will just be a waste, because we are talking about energy security. Is that okay? And for the past 2 weeks that I've been in Abuja, I have been talking to different media organizations, trying to draw the attention of Mr. President. And each time I plead with my friends who are his close aides, say, look, I want to meet with Mr. President one-on-one and whisper something directly into his ears. It's not because I'm interested in having a handshake with him. That's my business. It's not because I want to go out to Aso Villa. But over the years, I understand the politics. Once you pass a critical information through somebody,
it's watered down.
It's watered down or hijacked and manipulated. So the man at the helm of affairs
may not even know. Is that a case here? Because this is
the case, and it's
but this is a president who seemed to have the hang of a lot of things.
Listen.
Before he emerged, he resonated with Nigerians. He had a beautiful pockets of information of every sector. So that's what gave the trust. So it will be difficult. In fact, we were, a lot of people were excited that this is not that administration of I am not aware. This is the president that came and said, don't give me the benefit of doubt.
Because I'm aware.
I'm aware. So how did we get here? Is it the Aso Villa? Does it have a problem there?
You know, I won't mention names, but for those who know that certain persons that are very close to him have their own political agenda for 2027.
In spite of that,
let me tell you how it works. I've also been in politics. I've also been in government. So I know. Many governors don't even know what is happening. They are fed with misinformation. You will have your political appointee in strategic position. He or she is thinking of his or her own political future. Right now, there are those who want to be governor in their state in 2027. And
they are still in government.
They are in government.
So they are promoting their own
interests. They are not even interested in President Tinubu succeeding. No. That position they are, they want to grab as much as they will grab. And then they begin to identify. Let me tell you, I won't mention his name. I was on a program with him. He was the guest analyst and we were invited to as participants. So that was when we had that loan, allegedly with LGBT title.
Right.
So he was explaining and all that stuff. And I engaged him. And he knew that whoever was engaging him had authority. Do you know that after the program, another issue came up? So I now sent him an interview I granted the media. And I was like, wow, please, let's meet and engage. And I said, I'm the same person who engaged you a day before. That was the end of the discussion. Disconnected me.
Right. So
but that is somebody who is all over every day, speaking as if he's speaking for Mr. President. The point I'm making here is that Mr. President is disconnected right now from the people. And the petroleum sector, who are those he has appointed, or who are those he inherited from former President Buhari, who are holding critical positions in the petroleum sector? What are those critical positions in the petroleum sector? The management of NNPCL. One, the management of the NUPRC, Nigeria
Upstream Petroleum Regulatory
Commission.
Right.
The next one is management and board of the Nigerian Midstream Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Not commission.
Authority, yes.
So why they change one to commission and the other authority? Only God knows for them. Now, who are those holding these key positions? You have a special advisor you appointed for energy. I don't know her, but she's a lady and she's from one of the oil companies. What advice, what depth of knowledge does she have in all the intrigues in the petroleum sector? Let me tell you something, my sister and Nigerians listening to me and watching me. There are people who work for the petroleum industry but yet don't understand the petroleum industry.
How that?
Yes, because
how can you work in a sector you do not understand?
Because they are not in the core sector of the petroleum industry. There are people who have worked for the multinationals or the IOCs in Nigeria, okay, and retired after 35 years. Yet they have never seen the color of crude oil, let alone understand. So they cannot speak authoritatively. They may have retired as deputy MD or mining director. They still don't know the industry. You can't compare them with those of us who were responsible directly for the exploration and the production of the crude oil, live, onshore, offshore, and swamp. We know it. It's the same thing in NNPC. There are those who have become MD of NNPC, retired. They still don't understand NNPC. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So Mr. President should rise now to invite. I'm surprised that he's not even engaging the media in a monthly chat or weekly chat. You know, we had it under
Obasanjo, yes.
Obasanjo did very well. Every now and then he's, you know, I can't remember of Jonathan. So All this, Buhari was not just there. So, but I expect that being a Democrat,
he would have done more.
He should be the one engaging the media. That media chat. Not every day we are hearing a spokesperson for president telling us what the president did not even say. I get my point. So, Mr. President, the only way you can address this nationwide strike that you are not ready to stop, and I'm not saying you should stop it, is please, can you engage? Don't go allowing people to invite certain persons who just come and tell you what you want to hear. You understand the politics and the intrigues. Look at the petroleum sector. That is where it is. When I was coming to your studio this morning, long queues. Stations.
Some of us couldn't even get
Yes, vehicles are not on the street. People are stranded and it's raining. It was by special grace of God I manipulated my way and got here. It is the petroleum sector that has caused all this crisis, that have created increasing hopelessness in Nigeria. My sister, I hate to describe what I see these days. Where I temporarily stay since past 1 week or two that I've been in Abuja, you will see Nigerians coming to the street. All these waste drums. You see mother and their children.
Scavenging.
Yes, looking for what to eat. Looking for what to eat.
Wow.
It's as bad as I am telling you, God knows. This is what is happening.
Wow.
It's no joke. Mr. President, the solution, quick solution and permanent solution, is get rid of those who have perpetually destroyed the petroleum sector without having that patriotic courage for which I advise Mr. President to assume the position of the substantive minister of petroleum resources. He can't fix the problem. His renewed group agenda will just be in waste. That is the truth. Agriculture, we should attend to all those, but I'm telling you that the main thing first now, because the petroleum sector runs the economy, it also determines whether our nation will be in peace and in security. No country does that. Even the oil consuming nations, they don't joke with petroleum. The war between Russia and Ukraine, the reason Putin is surviving is because he understands the power of the petroleum sector. So he's using the petroleum resources of his country to deal with the Western nation. And that is why they are stuck. We cannot sit down and be discussing and hoping that somebody's private refinery should be the hope of our country.
Exactly.
When we have 4 refineries deliberately grounded so that certain cabal will have their own refinery and be importing whatever they want to import. The 4 refineries, they should give a matching order. And then the labor unions, I have told them, it is good to fight for improvement in workers' salary and others. But the question you should ask yourself, where will the money come from? Being a labor leader is not to see management or government as an enemy or opponent. You are supposed to be co-managers.
Exactly.
You sit down and say, look, this is the idea we have to run this organization so that there will be prosperity. And when there's prosperity, economic prosperity, we have the moral authority to come and say, management, we all work together.
Exactly.
It's happening. So let's have Xmas bonus, production bonus. I did that when I was a director general in my state. I set the target and I called the union leaders. I said, I don't understand the kind of unionism you are playing. I taught them what unionism is, and I said, you have a responsibility. You are co-managers. I'm your DG, yes. I have responsibility to run this place, but you must engage me. You must bring ideas so that we set target for ourselves. And when we achieve, and that's what I did. When we achieve it, at the end of the year, there's what I call production bonus. And I give them good money.
Now, in your conversation, I mean, you mentioned really casually, but I picked it, where you said that you communicate with the leadership of this protest, and the IGP is asking for details of this, because constitutionally, if you have to protest, you must have get the IGP's nod for it, for security backing. Why has that not been done? If they are indeed, because it seems like there's no one face to being the leadership of this protest.
Well, I don't know. You see, the very first day, I'll answer your question. The very first day I heard that the management of NNPCL claimed to be speaking on behalf of President Tinubu, gave a marching order to the Chief of Defense Staff that he should go and deal ruthlessly with those behind the crude oil theft in my Niger Delta, and that they have a target of 2.1 million naira. I just sat down and told myself, I said, oh, why are they disturbing the CDS, the gentleman, or the Nigerian military? Why? When you say 2.1 million barrels, do you even know what you are producing? Have we ever had any record, accurate record of what we produce in the industry? We have never had and we will not have.
And why not?
Because
the world, everybody else has. Every other country that produces oil is able to know how much.
Yes, because that's why I told you that there have been massive rots. The crude oil theft is not by those in my community or Niger Delta rolling some drums of crude oil. We are talking about crude oil theft running into millions of barrels every 2 days or so. It can't be those drums. And
the Nigerian government is unable to tackle this. Is it beyond us?
When the management of NNPC stands up and tell the CDS that you presidency we should tell you to go and get rid of them. Well, the CDS is a gentleman, or the military, they are obedient. But the question I ask, if I were to sit with Mele Kyari, he won't say that when I'm sitting one-on-one. He can't try it. Because a few questions I will ask him and he will disappear. Because the NNPC is the one part of the crude oil theft.
Wow, that's a big allegation.
I am not making allegation. I work for Total Energies E&P Nigeria Limited, former F Petroleum Nigeria Limited.
We really are running out of time. I really wish I could pursue this conversation, but I have to bring you back so that we get into this particular conversation. Like we said, it's the mainstay of Nigeria's economy.
So, let me also quickly ask a question, please. This idea of wanting to make it look as if it is criminal to organize a protest and you are going after Moyole, Showore, and the rest of them. I don't know others, but I know Showore. I know I can't deny that fact. I know him. He's been a patriot. And my own engagement with him is that, brother, can we have an alternative? And my position is that, can we have a discussion, an intellectual discussion, and we insist on Mr. President being there. Some of us know what to do. We want to pass the information to Mr. President. Once he listens, this whole thing about protests will just be addressed.
Being a former presidential candidate, do you think Nigerians would trust that engagement with this president? I mean, if Showore is to meet the president on behalf of protesters, do you think they would trust the process? Because
Showore is just one person. When
exactly.
You say Showore, how can you expect that the Showore will be the one to? I'm older than him by age. So, and so many other people. So how do you think he will be the one to be mobilizing everybody?
Right.
No, now. Let's not try to demonize somebody in order to...
Okay.
No, I don't think it's right.
Engineer, thank you so much for being part of the program. Like you said, the protest should go on, but peacefully. Thank you again for the insight you've given us.
The president should be willing to engage us.
The president should be willing to engage us. Thank you for the insight you've also given us on the petroleum industry. We would have to bring you back. That conversation I would really like to follow through. The journalist in me cannot let it go. Thank you so much.